Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. We are smack dab in the middle of our pancreatic cancer fundraiser, and we have our next guest joining us. We have Tiffany Gassette. How's it going today?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's the weather's kind of subsided here, so things are a little bit easier to tolerate right now. So
And it feels like summer in Nashville right now. It's
yeah,
actually, it's a beautiful day.
fair. Temperature wise, it's probably about the same. So I'm in Central Texas, and temperature wise, it's probably about the same. But we just had a crazy storm push through, which I wasn't expecting, and yeah. So
Yeah, the weather's been pretty volatile all around, I think. But no tornadoes here,
yeah,
for a bit, so that's good.
that's always a good thing. So how's everything in Nashville treating you?
Good. It's been busy. I'm starting to get into more writing season. I tend to write seasonally because I'm in the summertime. I'm always out at the marinas here working on boats, which is my kind of other love. So I'm pretty much done for the season working on the boats that I've been working on. So gonna try and nest a little bit more and play some music and write.
Nice. That's really cool. My dad's actually got his boat up in Kentucky on Kentucky Lake. So
Nice.
yeah, it's
Yeah, a lot of the boats here come from Kentucky. A lot of the old houseboats were made in Kentucky.
mm,
It's a huge boating community up there.
oh yeah. We used to go there all the time as kids. We'd go to the lake. So I'm originally from Chicago, but we'd go down to
Okay.
Kentucky because we had a family there.
Nice.
So how long have you been in Nashville?
So started coming here. My daughter was a baby, so that's oh my gosh, that's 11 years ago. But I moved. I think it's going to be 8 years ago
Oh, wow.
now this year. Yeah, she's 11 now, so yeah, I moved when she was about 3 or 4.
And
Yeah.
you moved to pursue music, or what was the move for?
It was partly music. It was mostly music. When I began traveling here, I picked up immediately with the Nashville Songwriters Association because I was unable to move at that time, and I became the coordinator for the Connecticut chapter, and then ended up also doing the state island. So I founded the Southern New England chapter of the Nashville Songwriters Association. And as I was traveling here to work with NSAI and train there, my visits became more frequent, and then it just made the most sense to move here. But also I was really involved in a church here that I loved. So that was part of the reason too. I was ready for a change. Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. It's when you're ready for the change, it's always good to actually be able to make that change. That sounds weird to say, but sometimes
It
you're not
is.
always able to
Yeah.
make it. So
Hard, and it's scary when, I mean, you're completely starting over from scratch in a new location and you don't know anybody. And I had a small child. So it was very risky for me to move here. But I just felt like I was being led, to be here. And I felt like if there was ever a time in my life that I was going to do it, it was at that time.
mhm.
And if I waited or I didn't, or I let fear take over, that I would just be in the same place for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad that I did make the change, and it was a struggle for many years, but it's finally, getting more stable than
Mhm.
ever. Because yeah, it was definitely not easy, but I'm
Right.
glad I did it.
Right. Well, those early years never are easy. Like it feels like I've been in Texas now 5 years, and it's just now starting to feel like, okay, some ground's being made, and it may be hard to leave. So
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Texas and Nashville were both states that were a lot of people were, kind of flocking to.
hmm
um, so yeah, so there was a lot of change going on here when I moved here. So it was exciting, but it was also like, whoa, this is not like the city I moved to. It changed a lot since I've been here, since I started coming here.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, in some good ways and some challenges, but all in all, it's been pretty exciting. It's a beautiful city.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
for sure. And like even because I've been there more this year than I had previously. Been lucky enough to have a few different opportunities to come out, and from the first time I went out to Nashville in 2018, which was the first trip I made, and to now, it's like two completely different cities. It's almost ridiculous how quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is. It's changed a lot.
mm,
Um, but the city's done, I think, a really good job at planning. Not so much transportation, but just like aesthetics. Like
mm,
every building that goes up here or development, it's nice. Like it's I don't know. It's a beautiful city.
mhm.
It's pretty well planned development. So yeah, and I'm
100%.
pretty close to town. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you said you primarily moved to Nashville for your music, where it was one of the main factors. Um, when would you consider like you started taking music as a profession or started taking it seriously? I guess is a different way to ask that question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a long time ago.
Mm,
I had a touring band kind of out of the Boston area. Um, and we were doing really well. And that was about, 2007,
mhm,
2008 was when I really started to, I don't know, I guess professionally, maybe you could call it that. I kind of always had to have a side hustle because it costs so much money to be a musician. Um, but I was a school teacher, actually, and I had gotten laid off. And I thought, well, I mean, if that's not what I'm meant to do, maybe I should attempt to do what I've always wanted to do.
mhm.
So I was playing mostly in a band, but I was writing songs for my band. And then I had my daughter, and that changed things significantly, as children do.
Yeah.
So I was very limited as to what I could do musically. I certainly couldn't tour anymore. So what ended up happening was, I mean, I guess I didn't really know that there was such a thing as just songwriting.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't realize that you could be a professional songwriter. So I thought, well, if I can't perform anymore, then I'll just write songs, because I always wrote songs that may or may not have been felt like they were for me to sing or
Mhm.
perform, but it didn't mean they weren't good songs.
Yeah.
So I started coming here when I kind of got turned on to that um, possibility.
Mm.
And I guess when I came here, I realized what a terrible songwriter I actually was, because everyone here was so good. And I guess I spent the next several years just trying to be better, because I was no longer writing for just a band that we did and sang and played whatever we wanted. I was now trying to focus on like the craft of songwriting and how to be better at it. And once I kind of established that, and felt a little more confident in my writing ability, I I was taking the songs that I didn't necessarily want to write that felt they were more for me than songs that I could pitch to other people. And over that time, I kind of just was recording them. Like maybe, I mean, I'd say over the course of 10 years, I made my last album. So I wasn't focused on my artistry anymore, but I was just kind of compiling songs by default, or kind of fell back into it by default. And then I met a man that I was pitching a song to, at the Durango Songwriters Expo in Colorado. And he was kind of an Americana artist manager. And he really liked my song, but he said, I think that you're the artist, and I want to encourage you to embrace that again. And so he really, as I guess I just thought that my artist career was over at that point. Like it was never going to be viable. I was older than most, most female artists out there. I was definitely not pop. And I had a child, so I couldn't really play the game like everybody else could. But he convinced me that like I really had something to offer. And so he managed me for a while, and when I released my album, and I went back to focusing on my artistry. And then since then, it's actually been really kind of fruitful. So I still do like to write for other people, and I do have my songwriting craft, but lately I've been focusing on writing for my band again, which is actually really cool. And it feels more like that's me, being in a band. Yeah.
And have you found making that change has kind of challenged you as a writer, just like in general, like writing for yourself again?
That's never been the challenge, because I always have plenty to write about because my life is so chaotic. So I've never had a hard time in finding inspiration for my own life, because for me, my songwriting has always been an opportunity to emote. Actually, I was more challenged in the country kind of songwriting lane, because I felt like, well, all right, once I knew, how to kind of write for more commercial country, or I was trying to, pursue that. I felt like I wasn't being challenged enough as a songwriter. And so I started to just come up with random genre projects for myself, just to challenge myself as a writer, because I didn't want to write, just what we're supposed to be writing, or what might sell, or what might be pitch worthy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I felt like it was taking the life out of it a little bit for me, which is why I don't think just songwriting, alone was fulfilling. So I started to write just like jazz standards, and I started to play more piano, and so yeah, my my songwriting is very versatile. So yeah, it's like multi-genre. Yeah.
Nice. That's it's always kind of interesting because like I'm definitely no stranger to the fact that Nashville has a certain way it likes to do things. It knows what's going to become or I guess it doesn't know exactly what's going to become a hit, but they know what it takes to have a hit on the radio. And so it's like that knuckleball baseball pitcher that he knows he could strike everybody out just throwing that knuckleball. And at the end, it's fun for a little bit, but then after a while, it's kind of like, I want something, or I need something a little bit different. So,
yeah, well, I think that the challenge is finding, not so much finding, keeping or maintaining who you are when you're in this, business, or this, when you are pursuing songwriting here, because it's so easy to look at what all the other professional writers are doing and going like, oh, but that's not me. And I got to be more like that in order to succeed. And I just, two things. One, I said, well, this is who I am. This is what I write. This is how I write. And rather than chase what I think people want to hear, let me just own what I do and hope that, somebody, can align with what I contribute. But the other piece is saying, okay, well, my definition of success has doesn't have to be, I'm getting, number ones. That would be lovely. We all want that. But, you know, success could be anything. Success could be, I am writing silly bath time songs with my daughter, and I end up, getting a cut on a children's, show. Like,
Right.
um, success could come in so many different ways. I think that the goal is always just to I think that for me, success would be supporting my daughter, supporting my family, as a musician. And that would be
Yeah.
lovely. But yeah, I think not losing yourself in the dream of, like, or the vision of what it takes and what is success. And
Mhm.
if I don't, achieve that, does that mean that I've failed? And it's like, no, I mean, I feel like I've succeeded in just reestablishing my family here, and not failing, and or not turning around and going home and saying, I can't do this because
Mm.
it's not working out the way I thought it would work out. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
It challenges are what makes life interesting, and especially knowing that not losing yourself in those challenges is, at the end of the day, probably what everyone should be striving for.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. It can definitely be intimidating. I
right.
mean, moving to Nashville, like, it took me many years you know, to feel like I was even good enough to compete here.
Mm.
Because everyone's so talented. I mean, it's
Mm.
just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So was it the pandemic that just kind of helped you relaunch back into your own solo, like your project, or were you starting to play with that when you first
Well,
moved?
yeah, actually, I was doing my solo project just before the pandemic. Um, and I had released an album, but I didn't really promote it much. I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to release music. And my challenge has always been, I write and I record and I produce, but then I don't actually release anything. And then by the time I'm on to my next song, I'm like, well, now I don't even feel as confident in the song before that. And so maybe I won't release it. So I just decided to release that album and just walk away from it and see where it went. And but it was more just therapeutic just to get it out there, and so that I could then move on to the next project. Well, the next project ended up being totally different. I met a gentleman by the name of Brady Beard, and we just kind of were at a mixer, and just each other, and decided to write together. And we ended up being a really, really great writing team. And it started out as just us writing for songs that potentially he would produce, and then we would release for, like, film and TV or sync.
Yeah.
But then we realized, like, we were really good performing together, and our voices did well together. And so we just started this project together. But then COVID happened. Then we
Mm.
stopped playing. So about 3 years later, or whatever it was, however long, Brady and I started getting back together and writing again and performing again. And we decided, or, he has his own solo project. I mean, he's an incredible artist himself. But we decided that we really made each other better. And I've
Nice.
always preferred being in a band. So we started to put the band together, and it's kind of focused around he and I. And so now I'm actually working on, like, more of a duo project with him. So you'll be seeing more of what we're doing coming up. So yeah, that's what I'm really excited about right now. I love harmonies, and the melodies that I write always tend to lend themselves to kind of big harmonies.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at writing duets. So he and I really complement each other well, singing together. And he plays piano so much better than I do. So we accompany each other well. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now, and I'm really more excited about this project than probably anything I've done so far, because I know he makes me
Nice.
better. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really great to hear, and just kind of, seeing the fire in you talking about this upcoming project is really inspiring. And but before we continue moving on, I do want to thank you for joining us on our pancreatic cancer
Of
fundraiser.
course.
It's a project or a thing near and dear to my heart, so I appreciate you taking time to sit down and chat with us.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that you had a band up in Boston. What kind of music were you making up in Boston?
So we started out, I started out with a fiddle player, and we were doing a Celtic folk rock band. And that, so we did a lot of like the Irish, music scene there, which is very vibrant in Boston. But then I transitioned later into doing more festival focus, like so we were doing a little bit more high energy. So I grew up in St. Thomas, so I really love reggae. So I started writing reggae music, and
Nice.
we had a horn section, and yeah, so we were doing, I guess during that time, uh, you know, I was younger. We were having fun. We were touring. We were going to festivals, and it was just fun to play high energy music for those kind of crowds. So that was kind of what we were doing before I had my daughter, and then we decided to disband. Um, and then I guess I felt, after doing that for several years, just playing bars and festivals and clubs and things like that, I felt as though I something was missing, because at my core, I'm a lyricist and a storyteller, and I feel like party music is a whole different scene, and
Hmm.
it's fun, but nobody really cares, what I'm saying. And at that time in my life, I just realized that I had a lot to say that people might relate to.
Yeah.
And so I started writing more kind of from the heart, and so my music took a little bit more of a stylistic kind of, I feel like I reached the core of who I was as an artist,
Nice.
um, and what I wanted to say. And that's kind of what led me to where I am now. Brady very much is in line with what I want to say. He helps me, kind of emote in the way that I like to when I'm writing. So yeah, it's been
Yeah,
working out really well.
absolutely. Would you say that this current project that you're getting ready to release on the world is probably your most accurate version of the type of music you want to make, or the type of musician you want to be?
I think so. Yeah. Um, it I I just feel like I I'm on the pulse of who I am more than I've ever been in my life. And as a songwriter, that's also an artist. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard sometimes to find that, because, if you're a competent songwriter and you've been influenced by many genres, you can write anything.
Hmm.
And, as a performer, you can be one, but on stage. But so when I was writing reggae music, I was writing authentic reggae music, and it was,
Yeah.
we did really well. When I was writing Celtic music, my grandmother was from Ireland, so we were playing, Celtic festivals, and it
Hmm.
was well received. And so all of that was a part of me and who I am. But I feel like when I really dug into like the core of like my soul, and kind of my brand. I've that was only recently, you know, the last like 5 years or so.
Mm.
And I think, yeah, I think working with Brady is has made me better because I'm mostly a songwriter and a singer. And I'm a decent guitar player. But I'm not really like the kind of musician that is like mastered and is super technical and gets it right all the time. You know,
Hmm.
I'm really and it's good to get to a place in your life where you know your limits and you go, you know what, somebody else can do this better than me and make me better, rather than feeling like your ego is telling you, well, I have to do it all and I have to be the
Yeah.
center of attention. You know, it's like, no, I really actually prefer to be in a band, and be with like musicians that are better than me.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that this is where I feel most comfortable. I
Nice.
prefer to play, you know, songwriter rounds with Brady than by myself. Um,
Mm.
and I think he agrees. Like we both just kind of complement each other very well, and makes it a little more fun. Um, it's also very vulnerable being, you know, a songwriter, or you know, in Nashville with the writing rounds here,
Mm.
just getting up there and telling your story, and you know, all eyes are on you, um yeah, playing solo. It's never really been my favorite thing. I've always loved bands. Yeah.
It's definitely a different vibe. It's a whole different feeling when you're doing solo acoustic versus a band. And
Yeah.
Nashville, for everything that it's worth, is allowing it there to be, you know, room for both opportunities, but there's
Right.
definitely a time and place for both, you know.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
Um, but I've really enjoyed the conversation. I've really enjoyed having you on. What's kind of the, obviously you mentioned that you're working on your new duo project, but what's kind of the plan as we look into 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, so we're really in the developmental stages of getting it off the ground. I mean, we've been playing together still, uh, as we kind of develop the brand and the release. But yeah, I just started working with a booking agent slash manager for the project, and so we're kind of focused right now on trying to put out some music that
Mhm.
really embodies, you know, who we are. Um, because I think the focus has been on my solo stuff, which the band is, you know, happy to play. I mean, really, they're wonderful, and they support me as an artist. But I really want to collaborate with them and make sure that, you know, we're all, you know, just a part of the project. So we're gonna try and release some music soon, and hopefully some video, and then launch, you know, the performances and some of the music next year, coming into 2025. So yeah, we've been working hard, and it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot
Mhm.
of developing, and I mean, there's just so much involved in like launching a music project. Um, and So it's good to have help. It's good to have a team of people who support our vision, and you know, can help us with the things. Like I said, I can't do it all. I think that's the most difficult thing about being an artist these days is you have to do it all. You know,
Mhm.
and I don't quite have the energy I had when, you know, 15 years ago with my old band, where I was doing all the booking, doing all the
Mhm.
writing, doing all the rehearsal organization, doing all the flyers, doing the email lists, and now you're expected to do all the social media.
Mhm.
So it takes a team, and right now I'm working with the team to get things going, and it's nice. It's nice to have some help so that we can focus on the creative side of things. So hopefully writing some more soon too. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. It's always, I love, because I'm kind of in that same boat where it's like I have to do everything myself. And I don't have the same energy I had back in 2007 when I was 20, 21 years old. And it was just like,
Yeah.
ah, man, I wish I had that energy. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a,
it's a struggle. It is a struggle. You absolutely have to be a labor of love. Um,
mm,
and that's why I just think it's so important that musicians and artists support each other. Um, because we're all just, trying to put out our artwork and hope that, and I think that that's why Nashville appealed to me.
mhm,
Is that it was just at least the time I moved here, it was very much a collaborative town.
mhm,
And you were trying to, embrace each other's success and, and co-write and help each other out. And it didn't have a competitive vibe
mhm.
so much, as some of the other markets I had worked in. And so I just felt really like, okay, this is more in line with me. Like, I don't want to compete. I want to uplift other people and see
Yeah.
them be successful too. And because we all just want someone to care about our songs and share them
Yep.
and support each other and be reminded that we're not doing this for nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I felt that here more than anywhere else.
Nice. And I mean, I agree. I haven't made the move yet, but I agree. Nashville, something's going on. I get it, 100%. So, but
Yeah, there's a lot more people trying to make it here than there was 10 years ago. There's room for everybody. And I think that everyone has something unique that they have to offer, which is getting back to what I was saying before. When we think that, well, I gotta chase this one lane because that's the only way to be successful, you can really set yourself up for a lot of
mm,
disappointment. And so I just feel like the challenge is finding your unique thing, and sticking to it and,
yeah,
letting people catch up to what you're doing, rather than chasing what they're doing. So it's hard. It's hard to stay true to yourself in a town like this, but just got to.
yeah, fair enough. But once again, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. If anybody
Thank you.
wants to check out your upcoming music, your current music that you have out for yourself, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
So most of what I've been doing with Brady on just our page, he's Brady Beard. I'm Tiffany Gassette, and then I do have a website and then my album still is on Spotify and all the streaming platforms, YouTube and all that for free. So yeah, but pretty soon we'll probably be putting together a whole new website for our project. So that's yet to come.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. It's been an absolute blast chatting with you. Thank you everybody for tuning in,
Thank
and we will
you.
catch you all later.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Take care.